Crocheting is no longer just your grandma's hobby. Young people have picked up yarn crafts of all sorts, including myself. Right now, I'm crocheting an alligator, and as one of many young people, I've picked up this hobby and just rolled with it. Voice is so much more than just speaking. Let's call this stack of books here a representation of your voice. Only this much is the actual words that come out of my mouth. The rest fall under the tone of voice that I'm using, my body language, and other nonverbal cues that Dr. Hutchins encourages others to harness through her work. This is just one of many regulations in the state since tattoos were legalized here in 2004. Tattoos above the neck, like mine right here, are actually illegal to perform in the state of South Carolina. An artist caught doing so could face a $2,500 fine, a year in prison, or both. The South Carolina Transparency and Integrity in Education Act would prohibit race, gender, sexuality, and other aspects of U.S. history from being taught in public school classrooms. The Trevor Project's research has consistently found that LGBTQ youth report lower rates of suicide when they have access to LGBTQ affirming spaces. Spaces as simple as a hair salon like Vivid here can make all the difference in these young people's lives.
After a shooting carried out by teens at Isle of Palms this weekend, Governor Henry McMaster is calling on crime-preventing legislation.
Our Calista Pushman was at his press conference this morning and is live now at the State House. Calista, what can you tell us about the governor's response?
Yes, today Governor McMaster focused in on what he calls a revolving door of repeat criminals continuing to get out on bond only to repeat their crimes. But a different issue stuck out at the start of today's otherwise bond-focused press conference, coming from Isle of Palms Chief of Police Kevin Cornett.
At the top of that poster board there, you see BYOB, bring your own bottle, and BYOG, bring your own gun. I will tell those that are organizing this event that this behavior will not be tolerated.
Chief Cornett is referencing a recent invite that has been circling social media about a spring break party at Folly Beach, ringing familiar to Saturday's shooting at Isle of Palms.
We've become all too familiar with the deadly impact of young people and repeat offenders with guns.
These repeat offenders were the main point of interest for Governor McMaster.
Slam that revolving door shut on repeat criminals.
He brought up a current case being investigated by Sheriff Leon Lott.
He will be charged with murder. He was on bond for murder. Now that doesn't make any sense.
SLED Chief Mark Keel built on this disconnect, pitching a bond system where consequences for repeat offenders escalate with their crimes.
When we enhance penalties for those that commit those weapon violations so that every time they don't get to just have a small charge, it's the same consistent penalty or downplayed to something else, when we can hold them accountable with enhanced penalties, that's where we can hit the crime.
Now, the last time we've seen bond reform successfully passed in South Carolina was back with an amendment in 2015. But Governor McMaster has high hopes for change this time in light of the recent climb in violence. Live from the State House, Calista Pushman, Carolina News.
Our own Calista Pushman has been following day 20 of the Murder Dog trial all day. Calista, can you break it down for us?
Of course, Bella. Now, actually, just minutes ago, the state has officially rested their case. This is after 20 days of trial. Now, the day opened with the cross-examination of SLED agent Ryan Kelly, and following that, the state called up their 61st and final witness. They wrapped up their case by bringing everything from car speeds to cell phone records together into one cohesive timeline.
Graduated in 2017 at Saginaw Valley.
Day 20 of the trial featured a breakdown of Alex Murdaugh's driving patterns the day of the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Prosecutors heavily implied that Murdaugh's drive to his mother's house was his way of establishing an alibi and temporarily stashing the murder weapons. Key moments highlighted by SLED agent Peter Rudofsky included unusually high speeds by Murdaugh on his drive from Moselle to Almeda, 80 miles an hour to be exact.
Would you at night, or did you ever at night, on the roads as they existed at the time of June 7th, 2021, run in code with your lights on, run 80 miles an hour down that road?
I would not, no.
The state then brought it back to the phone activity evidence and dug further in on Murdaugh's close proximity, both in time and location, to the double murder. Using more phone evidence, Creighton, Waters, and Rudofsky walked through the foot paces of the three, highlighting that Alex moves considerably faster soon after the time of the killings.
70.75 steps per minute estimated.
He was a busy guy right then, wasn't he?
It appears.
Now, defense attorney Philip Barber used his cross-examination time to establish that 80-mile speeds on a road like the one between Moselle and Alameda isn't exactly unusual, but Rudofsky again pointed out the danger in doing so. Now, with the state resting its case, that brings them to over 550 exhibits and 61 witnesses. We'll have more as the trial enters its next stages, but until then, it's back to you at the news desk. House Bill 3728, though broad in its language, has established a clear goal: keep hot-button social topics out of classroom discussion. The bill seeks to give parents the final say in what topics belong in state curriculum and opens a door for teachers to be investigated if a parent sees a subject as unfit for a classroom environment. The battle lines have been drawn, and the public has been speaking out, especially on topics like critical race theory. Arguments from both the far right.
Critical race theory makes a theoretical argument that our system is inherently evil and racist. In reality, our merit-based system has brought prosperity to so many Americans who strive for it.
And far left end of the CRT spectrum.
We want to provide a safe environment for teachers to correlate current events with past history events. And so we want to teach unbiased Black American history in South Carolina.
Were heard out in response to the bill's quick progress. The South Carolina Transparency and Integrity in Education Act would prohibit race, gender, sexuality, and other aspects of U.S. history from being taught in public school classrooms. And this has especially turned teacher against teacher. SC public school teacher Adam Madavi called for an end to the government standing by as he says teachers push personal ideologies onto minors without direct consequence.
If this bill does not pass, South Carolinians will be exposed to conspiracy theories that teach America was made to make white people racist. Capitalism and colorblindness perpetuate systematic racism. White people need to feel uncomfortable about their implicit racism.
While he believes the bill solves problems, retired English teacher Amy Strong sees the bill only creating more.
If I were teaching under this bill, the students' parents could file a complaint that I presented a biased view or ideology because their ideology of the world was challenged and not presented within a fact-based historical event, but rather a novel. At the same time, if I were put under review because of this and told to no longer voice those opinions until the review was over, the parents of the Black students in my class would then file a complaint that I am remaining silent and therefore presenting a different biased view of their experience.
Whether the public speaks out for or against the bill, the goal of both sides is simple: protect children from harm. For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman. Matthew Toto Davis is an artist at Animated Campus Columbia. Some of his tattoos represent people.
I have "If Found, Call Poison" and my roller derby coach's phone number on my leg.
Others are reminders.
I have one specifically on my nipples to just tell me to calm down, and also that I got business on one side and party on the other.
And some are just plain fun.
My toes, which say "no regrets," and it's actually got 3 letters spelled wrong.
But tattoo law in South Carolina isn't as loose and open as Toto's views on tattoos. South Carolina was the second to last state to legalize tattooing back in 2004. Legislation has yet to catch up to the times, and it's continued to bother some artists.
The law that still bugs me to this day: an established business of tattooing has to be 1,000 feet from a church, school, or playground.
Meanwhile, a liquor store, bar, or strip club can be half that distance. This is just one of many regulations in the state since tattoos were legalized here in 2004. Tattoos above the neck, like mine right here, are actually illegal to perform in the state of South Carolina. An artist caught doing so could face a $2,500 fine, a year in prison, or both. Cody Boston, another artist at Animated Canvas, does not feel limited by the head, neck, face ban, but he does see potential danger in the law.
People will go somewhere, out to somebody's house, get a really badly done tattoo that might get infected, and we're kind of exposing them to that.
To Toto, lawmakers would benefit from input straight from the source.
If they talk to people in the profession more closely, it would help bridge that gap of misinformation.
Regardless of these laws, people will continue to carry art on skin for a lifetime. And if someone wants to be inked from head to toe, Georgia is just a drive away. For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman.
Okay, cool. Oh, hi. Days ago, it came up on my For You.
Brianna Rao has been hooked to crochet since elementary school, and over 10 years later, she is still an avid crafter.
And that allows you to really take a step back, reflect, and just let your hands kind of do the talking.
To her, crocheting is for anyone and everyone.
Now we can ditch the term grandma hobby.
She's even built a TikTok platform off of the craft, posting tutorials for her 20,000 plus person following. The trend is bigger than her, though, as #crochet on TikTok is at 15.8 billion views. And since quarantine, sales for yarn suppliers like Lovecraft have skyrocketed, up 166% to be exact. Crocheting is no longer just your grandma's hobby. Young people have picked up yarn crafts of all sorts, including myself. Right now, I'm crocheting an alligator, and as one of many young people, I've picked up this hobby and just rolled with it. Missy Waddell is the owner of Copious Fibers and has seen an increase of young people buying yarn from her store.
We have a lot of younger customers coming in, in their 20s and their 30s that are learning the craft. There's something soothing about touching the fiber and having it run through your fingers. It can have a calming effect.
To Brianna, the common thread between crocheters new and old is trial and error.
And as discouraging as that may be, you also have to realize that the best things in life you have to work at.
And this craft will continue to connect people one stitch at a time. For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman. Meet the voices behind the 7-book series called
My Voice is Powerful.
Each of these kids is a published author. To understand how these kids got here, it's important to know where this idea even came from. Dr. Katrina Hutchins dedicates her career to voice repositioning. In her studies, she found that most of what dampens the voices of adults is seated in childhood messaging.
This needs to be disrupted because if we're perpetuating these messages and it's impacting voice for young people, then we need to disrupt that.
Voice is so much more than just speaking. Let's call this stack of books here a representation of your voice. Only this much is the actual words that come out of my mouth. The rest fall under the tone of voice that I'm using, my body language, and other nonverbal cues that Dr. Hutchins encourages others to harness through her work. She uses her book, The Voice Positioning System, to guide her work as a personal and executive coach. But that book was just the start.
It's almost like this book had babies. This is the mother book.
The first so-called child of Dr. Hutchins' book, I Know My Voice, was co-authored by her niece, Bella.
I just want to use my book to help other people and to let people around the world know their voice.
The book follows a series of affirmations.
My voice is kind. It is a great treasure. It is a rare find.
All reminders of the importance of knowing and loving your voice. Bella's mother notes that her daughter goes beyond the confidence of the words in her book.
Everything about her has just been, no, Mom, I got it. I got it. And I've enjoyed watching her just take on the world.
And it's not just kids like Bella benefiting from the book.
I've actually used the books for big people workshops that I do. And they always say, man, I wish I knew this when I was this age.
Whatever's next for this family, they can be certain it will be done in a voice that is loud and proud.
Speaking up and using it for what's right.
I need to use my voice to be heard and understood when I speak. I also amplify my voice in the school system that was not made for people like me. I use my voice to stand up for myself and also people that I care about. Every day I'm thankful that I've learned to use my voice in such a way that positively uplifts and advocates for others.
For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman.
I love the coloring.
Me too. I really, really like it.
Just watch your step on these country roots over here.
Bob Walker has been beekeeping for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I'm just really trying to get ready for the season because my wife and I moved here because my mom has Alzheimer's. So we came back a few years ago to take care of her. And that's when the bee business kind of started taking off. This is my 5th year.
In his 5 years of beekeeping, he's built his small business, Walker Bee Ranch.
Over the last few years, I've sold every bit of honey that my bees could make.
Along with a successful business, he's found himself a community of beekeepers across the globe.
We've got people from the UK, from New Zealand, from Canada, the US. There's a guy in Jamaica that beekeeps.
For Bob, he has a new learning goal each year. This year's being breeding his own queen bees.
I don't know if you can see her little red dot.
But the part the public sees most is that sweet golden honey.
This is my regular honey, the last batch.
What makes local honey so special? Not only does it taste great,
That's awesome.
but it helps prevent allergies.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
The main thing is that you're getting the local pollens that you're finding here in this area. So you're basically micro-dosing yourself with that to help your body build up a tolerance to it.
When looking for your own local honey, it's critical to read beyond the label.
It'll very clearly on the label say local raw honey. And then you flip it around, it says packaged in Colorado.
Whether it's for allergy prevention or just a sweet treat, honey can do more for you than what meets the eye. For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman. A hair salon is a familiar spot, filled with chatter and the snips of scissors. But Vivid Hair Salon attracts a unique type of clientele.
First haircuts for coming out, ladies' first short haircuts, and when people are transitioning, it was kind of a nice, welcoming space for that kind of transition to happen.
Lydia Gregory is the owner and a stylist at Vivid, and accidentally created a space known to locals as the Gay Salon.
Really, I never tried to label this place as the gay salon or anything like that, or really even LGBT focused. It just kind of happened.
Whether she wanted it to end up that way or not, her business is now a place where anyone from any walk of life can leave with a haircut that brings who they are on the inside out.
The Trevor Project's research has consistently found that LGBTQ youth report lower rates of suicide when they have access to LGBTQ affirming spaces. Spaces as simple as a hair salon like Vivid here can make all the difference in these young people's lives.
Bree Newton, the Assistant Director of LGBTQ Resources at USC, says there is a clear need for local LGBTQ safe spaces, especially for the current college demographic.
We have people that don't have a safe space in society, and so creating little niches on campus where people have little safety bubbles.
But to Lydia, a safe space should not be limited to just one community.
I got here not because I was trying to target certain demographics. I just have a genuine care for human beings.
For Carolina News, I'm Calista Pushman.